Shalom, shalom, it's your boy Zachariah coming at you a little quick tidbit. Just want to give all praise to our power. I'll be how, why the Mashak Yahushai, my brothers and sisters laboring in this truth and sincerity, special on to y'all. And this one's called Day No Part 3, and it's going to go into some commentary with it. Just have to listen deep in what they're saying. I'm going to hit it with some precepts as well. Further ado, take a listen.
What the voice of heaven has said. Here is what the voice from heaven said. Are you ready? The voice of heaven said, Africa has the seed of Israel all throughout the continent. All throughout the continent. This was a surprise for me, friends, when I saw these clusters in Africa, when I start to hear the report. Friends.
Now, how could that be a surprise when all you got to do is read Deuteronomy 28, which is in the Torah, 28:64, it said, I'm going to scatter you amongst all nations. And Luke 21:21 says, let them flee into the mountains, right? The mountains is southwest of Israel, because Israel is really northeast of Africa. It's on one continent. And you're going to be amongst all nations, right? So to us, this is just prophecy that unfold and being unfold. But it's new to them because they were never taught the whole particular Bible, how we have been learning it now. And that's why we've been calling all these different names that they will call us, but they never really want to call us the real Hebrews. They will insinuate, they'll go back and forth, call us all type of different names, like you're going to hear, but never the true biblical Israelites.
Because of you, we distribute 1,000 books. And our people rejoicing, our people returning to the roots. We are starting to hear reports of revelation in Africa of the Jewishness among the Lembas from Kenya, from the Igbos, from Madagascar. We're getting all of those reports, and God spoke to me before I even opened the scriptures. And he says to me, you know what this is happening? This is happening because the bride have an article of clothing in Africa. And unless Africa is ready, the bride cannot be ready.
Now, he's using the word Africa, Africa, Africa. Africa is a name that was constructed by the Europeans through the Roman general Apollonius Scipionus, which is exception, because why referring them to Africans? You should say, listen, they're Hebrews, they're scattered, and they're coming back. But you're not using that word for a particular reason. You got to listen when people reveal themselves when they talk.
Remember, the bride is whole, the bride is full, and a major part of the house of Israel, what we scripture call Zera Israel, the seed of Israel, is right there, hidden in Africa. In a minute you will understand what's happening in the United States of America. Tune in with me. Stay on this message right now. I need you to focus, because the revelation that I'm giving you today is not Rabbi Shapiro. Heavens spoke to me. Heavens spoke to me, and he told me, change the plans for this Shabbat. Change everything for the Shabbat. Something supernatural is about to happen with Africa and with the African American community. Let me say it again. Something supernatural is about to happen with the African American community.
Now, he just said something supernatural is going to happen. He broke down the Lebo tribe, the Igbo tribe, all the tribes in Africa, where the slave ships picked us up and brought us to the Caribbeans, South Africa, South America, throughout all the parts of what you call now even North America, right? That's what's called the Atlantic slave trade. Now, he just said something phenomenal is about to happen. Now, you're going to hear down the road how contradictory this sermon is.
I have given 1,400 messages. I never once addressed the African American community.
You know why? Because the truth is going out like wildfire and they cannot ignore it anymore. They can't ignore the anthropology, the archaeology, the biblical precepts proving who we are. They cannot ignore the secular history. They can't ignore it no more. It's loud. It's all over the internet. So they have to bring it out now. That's why. They're not doing this because he got a voice from heaven. He got a voice from watching somebody on YouTube say, yo, the blacks and Hispanics are the true Israelites. And he sat back saying, listen, please, what nonsense is this? And when they start breaking down the records, he started to get convicted. That's what's going down.
But tonight, I am, because you have a very special invitation. Africa has a very special invitation. And the time is now. This is why we are seeing this revival. Look with me what it says. According to our sages, it says, according to Amos, chapter 9, verse 7. Check this out. I saw this verse. I was floored. It says, Israel, these northern tribes, Nikreu, they are called Kushim. Kushim. They call Kushim. The word Kushim comes from the word Kush. Kush is Ethiopia, or the area surrounding Ethiopia. And it says that Israel is likened, or they are called Kushim. As it is say, Kushim comes from the word black. As it is says, this is from the Talmud, quoting Amos chapter 9, verse.
First of all, the Bible says none shall want her mate. And you can't bring another record-keeping consortium of Jewish commentary mixed in with Hebrew text to basically give the Bible an amplifier of what you're trying to say. Is either you read it precept upon precept, like Isaiah chapter 28, verse 9 and 10 says, the prophet, or you don't read it at all, right? And this Talmud has nothing to do with the Bible. It doesn't have Hebrew commentary in there, yeah, but it has nothing to do with the Bible because the origins of that is Babylonian. And you go look that up on your own.
7. Alo kibnei kushim atem li. You are Israel like the sons of the Kushim. You, Israel, are called Kushim. Why? Because the prophet is telling us that there is part of Israel, let's call them the remnant. Let's call them those who have been scattered, who are like the Kushim. Now, when the prophets speak about them, he's not speaking about them in a favorable way. Why? Because they have been scattered. They have been gone. They are no longer there. Look at this. It says in Amos, to me, O Israelite, you are just like it's translated as Ethiopians, but it does not say Ethiopians. That's what Hebrew Holy Tongue says. Let us not manipulate the Holy Tongue.
First of all, that's not the Holy Tongue. The Holy Tongue is Lashon Kadash, which is Paleo Hebrew. This Hebrew here has vowels and different formats, which we never spoke in ancient Hebrew. You can never look up any ancient Hebrew and see vowels, okay? So that's not the Holy Tongue, just for correction purposes.
It says, Kushi, Atem Libnei Israel. He said, you are like the Kushim, declares the Lord. Why? Because Israel is there in the Kush tribe, brought Israel up from the land of Egypt, but also the Philistines from Kaftor and the Armenians from Kiev. Okay? Israel, number one, make yourself the note, Israel has a name. And one of the names that Israel is called by is Kushim. Kushim is a generic name for anybody who is black. Now, I want to be careful here. I am not saying that every black person is from the seed of Israel. That's not what I'm saying. I am saying that, as we're going to see in 1 minute, it is these specific
Now you see what he just said. Now, if you're not looking at that spiritually, that'll go over your head. Basically, he's saying, anytime you left the origins of the state of Israel, you became black. That's the generic name for anybody that's not in Israel, because he'll go down, because this is a 40-minute video. I'm not going into the whole video. And he's going to expand on how wicked they were. So when you left, you held on to a little bit of the customs, but guess what? You were black. You were outcasted. That goes into the same thing the theologians were saying, that blacks are a curse, right? They're a curse, and that's why they have the skin and the facial features, because they're the outcast of Israel. Even though he is saying something phenomenal is going to happen. This is the forked tongue, brothers and sisters. Pay attention.
Speaking about, specifically here, about a subset from the house of Israel. Now check this out, what the prophet's saying. It says in Moed Katan, this is in the Talmud, recorded in the Talmud. Similarly, you can explain the verse as you not so much as mine as the children of the Cushite, children of the dark-skinned souls in Africa, like the Ibu, like the Lambas. They are completely distinguished from the other groups in their customs, in their traditions. And here the Talmud itself recorded, and it says at times they're going to look at Cushites like regular Africans, but they are really Israelites.
There it is right there.
They are part of the seed of the house of Israel. We have a movement today that is a very dangerous movement. They call the Black Israelites. They're anti-Semitic.
And there it is right there. There it is right there. He just said that you're going to see a phenomenal movement happening in the African American community. A phenomenal movement. But then he says the Black Hebrew Israelites. How could we be Black Hebrew Israelites if you just said we're from the house of Israel? Why not say Israelites, right? If you don't like our teachings, just say Israelites that do not attest to what we know, but maybe we could help them brothers along. He doesn't say that. He says anti-Semitic and all this other stuff, which makes no sense, because anti-Semitic, how can we be anti-Semitic if we're in the house of David, right? It doesn't make any sense. You understand what I'm saying to you? It doesn't make any sense, brothers and sisters.
They hate the Jewish people. But you see, this is what a Satan wants to do. He wants to take a little grain of truth and he wants to twist it, pervert it.
Now we're the house of Satan because we're taking truth and twisting it. Brothers and sisters, have you ever known truth to be a little truth? Truth bring down governments. Truth make people, CEOs resign. How could a little truth do anything? Truth is truth and a lie is a lie. You could twist a lie. You can't twist the truth. The truth is the truth. Eventually someone's going to see through it, right? So that's what I'm saying with the forked tongue. It's contradictory of what he's even bringing out. If we're saying the truth, why even call us Black Hebrew Israelites? He's contradicting himself by what's he even bringing out.
And manipulate it. In reality, the prophets of Israel explained to us that it is this exact seed of Zera Israel, of the seed of Israel that found in Africa. Not only that is a Jewish seed, it is the seed that is needed to bring Israel to salvation. The entire salvation, you know, because Yeshua said that the last will be first and the first will be last. Guess what? The prophets of Israel have agreed. It is those who are the least among our people, who are not even counted as our people today. They will be the one who will bring Israel to salvation. Yes.
Now you just heard that, but if we're Black Hebrew Israelites, how could we be the ones bringing Israel to salvation if we're not the same people that he claimed to be, right? If I disagree with how you break your stuff down, does that negate the fact that you're Israelite, right? No, it does not. But you see, even in the truth he's bringing out lies. And what he's saying is truthful right there in terms of we are the salvation. Because in Ezekiel, the 37th chapter, the 9th verse, it says, can these dry bones live? I'm just paraphrasing. And the Lord said in verse 10, so I prophesied as a command me, and breathe and breath came into them, and they lived and stood up on their feet, an exceeding great army. That's you seen all over the world. Like you saw in that first clip with them red dots, you seen all over the globe. You're seeing us come back. The dry bones are getting flesh. We're starting to walk. We're starting to talk. We're starting to look at things. So he's not lying in that aspect, but it's the forked tongue, brothers and sisters, you have to pay attention to. You can't say where a phenomenal thing's happening and then we're the scum of the earth on the second. See, this is what I be saying.
Rabbi Shapira, how do you know that? I know it because my Bible tells me so. In Zephaniah chapter 3, verse 10 on, we read about the nations coming to their fullness. And as they come to their fullness, we see how this fullness is going to take place in part of the salvation of all of Israel. Now we read a very interesting passage.
Right, so there it is. You can listen to the whole video. I'm going to put a clip on the bottom of it. And that's going into where the Lord basically says, from the rivers of Zephaniah 3, from beyond the rivers of Ethiopia, my supplants, even the daughters of the dispersed shall bring my offering. Right? So all over throughout the four corners of the earth, same thing Moses was saying, Mashah, same thing that Mashiach was saying. Everybody's saying the same thing. That throughout the four corners of the earth we shall be scattered, and throughout the four corners of the earth we shall come back and gather ourselves, right? And you can listen to more to it. I just want to pull out certain things because there's a lot of stuff being brought out, right? But they're not being brought out in a way where the precept of the Bible is explaining it properly. And this is why I wanted to do it. It has nothing to do with I don't like this person, I don't like that person. Whoever wants to follow the customs of the Torah, they're all willing to do it. Because at the end, in Micah chapter 5, verse 1, the whole world is going to be following the Torah. So whoever want to follow it now, more power to them. All praise to the Most High. If I see y'all the next time, y'all rock the side, your boy Shalom.